All right, y'all, good morning. How are you doing this morning? We're going to do a little bit different video this morning. The spawn's on, so it's fishing's been kind of tough. I've been pounding on them little ones a little bit too much here lately, so we're going to do something a little bit different. Now that I've got the time to do it, we're going to, the theme of today is we're going to target, there's a piece of structure right there. I talk about, in a lot of my videos, I talk about like putting yourself in high percentage areas. So high percentage areas means a definite good spot. And I'm not talking about catching numbers of fish, because if we were going to do that, we'll go back to the same spots I was in the last video. I'm talking about high percentage areas to try to catch a big fish. I'm not looking, I don't think we'll catch a big fish today, but I haven't actually went over like how to do it, what to look for, or I'm sorry, how I do it and what I look for. Let me put it that way, because everybody's different. Everybody has a different place that they would consider a high percentage area. So basically what we're gonna use a lot of the side scan here. We're gonna use the map more specifically, but we're gonna use the side scan to look at when I take an area, right? So you've heard me talk about this before. Take an area, then you got to break that down into specific spots. So once you could take an area itself, like a stretch of river or whatever the case may be, then you got to find just the little things within that spot to maximize your fishing time. So it doesn't work all the time, because fish are still fish. I mean, they're going to be there, they won't be there. But if you kind of know basically like what to look for each time you go out, regardless of where you go, and definitely fisheries are different. But if you know kind of what the fish are hanging on to, or hiding by, or sitting behind, or on top of, however the case may be, however they're setting up, then that'll help you better break down an area. Instead of going on a body of water, kind of blind, which I've done a couple times, and I just, I try to visualize what I think a catfish is doing just based on the time of year, conditions, weather, water, things like that. So we're going to come to a spot that's pretty close to the boat ramp, just because I want to get started. And I wanted to do this because the conditions we've got today, we're going to have high skies today. Barometric pressure is going to be up a little bit. So the bite's going to be tough regardless of what we do. But the water's falling. So with the water falling, it's actually coming down a little bit. So the water is on its way down. It's actually come down about probably 10 inches since yesterday. So that's a pretty good little drop. So we're going to try to target areas where, if these fish that were up along the bank, we're going to target areas that they may pull back down to. And we're kind of coming across some stuff now, but I want to get further up before we start looking at the graphs. So that's what we're going to try to do. Like I said, the spawn's going on right now, so it's going to be hit or miss. I mean, it'd be cool if we catch a few decent fish today. But I'm not looking to catch a bunch for sure. Hopefully we catch at least one. That would be kind of neat, just based on the conditions. But this way, we can take the time and go over some of the stuff that I look for, because there is a lot. I mean, probably that's another one of my biggest questions that I get in a lot of my videos is, for like some of the new people to the sport. You know what I mean? So, and you guys know, if you've been around long enough, with me, I have zero problem helping out anybody with anything I possibly can. So if this possibly helps, for you at your local waters, or, whatever, to break down an area and to be able to target these, these fish or potentially bigger fish, then that'll be a good deal. Because when I chase bigger fish, when I know they're out roaming, moving around, stuff like that, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I mean, this stuff that we're going to go over today is exactly what I'm looking for. And you may have to hit a lot of it before you catch a big fish, because not a big fish ain't going to be on every spot that you come across like that. So you may have to rotate through quite a bit of it. But anyway, let me I'll get you guys turned around here, and we'll start looking at what I'm talking about. So here's the map, and what we're looking at here on the map is so this is the main channel here. This is going to be this is an island. So this is kind of a secondary channel here. So that's what we're looking at. So right here we just crossed over some structure, which I've scanned this before, so it's I pretty well know this. But we're gonna get up to this tree here, and then that's another brush pile there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up on this. So if I zoom in, you can see that this is a hole, right? That kind of has a high spot, and then it's another hole right up on top of this high spot. So this high spot will probably come up to about, right at 32 feet, but then it immediately drops back down to 30, it'll be 36 feet, 37 feet now. And then of course, you can see how it bends around right through here, and then there's a tree sitting right at the end of this hole where it comes up, and there's another little small little hole there, right? So that's a whole bunch of little areas where fish can hang out. I mean, they can just kind of sit there and chill. And once we get over that structure, I'll show you what it looks like. And so basically what, of course we're looking at side scan here. So that's, that's little sticks and stuff that's on the bottom. And this is a riprap bank. So that's what that is. That's just a bunch of that riprap right there. And, fish could also hang out, like, see, that could potentially be a fish, It's little things like that you got to look for. Now, when I'm looking also at the sonar, you see how the sonar is dead calm. There's nothing going on the sonar. But that don't necessarily mean anything, because when that sonar lights up, when you start seeing a bunch of fish on the sonar, I mean, you can sometimes tell if they're big ones or not, but most of the time they're going to be your 5 to 8 to 10 to 12 pounders, and that's kind of what we've been seeing before. So sometimes if you get yourself away from all them little fish, your potential to catch a bigger fish is just a touch higher, because the bigger fish, they don't have that much competition to try to weed through to get to your baits, and of course the smaller fish are going to be just slightly more active than the bigger fish are. Now we're still dealing with, right at 70-degree water temps. They're finally starting to come back up after being like 66, 67 last week. So that's good. But we're getting ready to come up on that structure, and I'll show you what it looks like on side scan. And there's several of it that we're going to scan over today, and I'll show you. And it's not so much what it is. It's more so, again, what it is, but where it's located. And like I showed you on the map, it's just at a perfect little spot, because you got the channel here where it comes up to a high spot. You kind of got like a little hole there, a little hole there, a little hole there. Then you got one random tree right in the middle of that. So, I mean, I've pulled some good fish off of it in the past. So that's why we're going to come up here and look at it and see if, and a lot of times the fish that I pulled out of there, I've never seen. Like I've scanned it, I've never seen them. So they were either tucked in it or just laid flat on the bottom or just chilling. The other thing we got going for us today is they've actually lowered this current. So outside of like these fast current rivers, like the Mississippi, Missouri, and other rivers like that, them fish are used to that current. These fish out here are not. They are not used to this current. And so they won't travel. Like if you're not set up, like if you don't drop that bait right in front of their face, typically they're not going to move to go get it, because they don't have to, because they got so much stuff floating down the river. So we're getting ready to come up on that tree. You can see we're kind of getting close to it now. We'll see what it looks like on side scan. I got it off to the left here, so you'll see it, and it's not much. It really isn't, but it's enough to hold a fish. Well, we kind of drove directly over top of it. That's kind of hard to see, but so you can see it on down scan here. It ain't much, and that's what it looks like on sonar. And that's one of the things I love about having this setup, because now it helped me learn a lot more of what it looks like on sonar. And so what we're going to do is we're going to spin around, and then we're going to fish that. We're going to toss some rods at it and see if there's anything in it, and then we'll keep moving up, and then I'll show you the different scenarios, different things that I like to look for when it comes to targeting these big fish. And and it may or may not help, you know what I mean? It probably won't do us any good today, to be honest with you. But once once this spawns over and the big fish get to moving around, those are going to be key areas. Post spawn, I will say, is kind of a big deal. Those little areas like that is going to be key. And then some of the other stuff we're going to go hit today is going to be also key as far as finding them big fish during the post spawn, because during the post spawn, like once I do start filming into the post spawn, I'm not gonna have time to sit around and go over the graph, because we're gonna be too busy catching fish. So that's why I wanted to knock this video out now and kind of give everybody an idea of what I look for when I'm chasing these bigger fish, and, you know, trying to target more bigger fish in the areas I target them in. So let me go ahead and get the boat set up. Oh, let me show you this real quick too. So like here, the tree. So I know that if I put my mark on it, see it says, you probably, let me get the camera, but I'm about 165 feet back. I like to personally get about 60 feet in front of it, because I can now cast just a touch further. Right now I got the current push me back, so that'll actually be perfect. But I like to cast just in front of it, you know, maybe a little bit further in front of it, because if you get a hold of a big fish, something like that, he grabs it, he goes in it. You know, it's tough. I think it's been a pretty good handful of videos back now. I had that big fish pull me right back into a brush pile that we were fishing, which we will end up back there today too, for sure. I plan on making that run up there, so. But we're floating back now, so. But yeah, I like to get about, and that's all you really got to do if you got a graph like this. Pretty much every graph you can do it. You know, you just figure out how far back you are from that waypoint that you dropped. And then, you know, like I said, we're slowly getting back there. The current's slowly pushing us back. So once it gets about 60, I say about 60, 65 feet is where I like to be. So that's kind of a decent cast. You know, you don't have to heave it, but you know, it's not a short cast either, because I always like to keep the boat kind of away from it, because that's going to be in about 30 foot of water. But let me get this boat set up, and then I'll catch back up with you when we got the rods out. All right, so we got all of our stuff set up. Shad's on the menu today, just because they're just stupid easy to catch right now. So shad's on the menu today. I've got a bunch like I had last time. So, and we caught fish on it. Fish will still eat it. It's just that I thought I saw a school of white bass up there. Yeah, I think that's a school of white bass that may be white bass or carp. It could be carp too. We got something up there splashing the water. But it's, you know, the basic rig I like using, nothing special. You've seen me use it 100 times. I got just the 3-way swivel, you know, with my weight on the bottom, no sinker slide, about a 36-inch 40 or 36-inch 38-inch right around leader line, and of course my floats with the two bobber stops on either side, and of course I'm up to the 10-aught whisker seeker triple threat hooks, because it's that time of year. You know, it's that time of year where these fish are typically aggressive, so you can get away with the bigger hook, which allows, you know, obviously sometimes for better hookups. So that's kind of the plan. It's kind of the deal. So I'm going to start off with these smaller baits and just kind of let the fish let me know if we get into a bunch of fish. I could figure out if I got to get bigger, you know, move to bigger baits or whatever the case may be. We're going to start off with just medium-sized baits, kind of fan everything out in front of this tree back behind us. Then I'll show you another massive brush pile, because we'll sit on it too. All right, so by my calculations and the amount of times I've done this, I'm usually pretty close, so I should be kind of more or less at least these two rods here, or maybe these two rods here, are gonna be kind of just above that treetop we saw back there. And, you know, but I'm still kind of covering that little high spot in the two other holes that are off next to it. So if there is a fish tucked up in one of them holes, then, you know, we're in the right spot. But we'll give this about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. Then, like I said, we'll scan on up. I'm gonna fish up there, because I do think that's white bass kind of busting water up there. I'd like to catch me a couple of those for sure. They've been kind of hard to find too. All right, we sat here, it was roughly 30 minutes, 28, 30 minutes, right around there. We had one little bite on that rod, and that was it, which again, like I said, it's gonna be slim pickings fishing like this, you know, but I wanna, you know, go over these big fish spots, like I was saying, these high potential areas for a big fish. Just keep in mind, we are in full spawn for the most part. So I'm not expecting a fire bite today at all. But I'm not saying we won't get lucky and come across something. But we're gonna move up to this different brush pile that I have up here, and you'll be able to see, you know, more so show you what it looks like on side scan, you know, down scan, even more so the sonar. So that way, if you know, if all you have is sonar, at least you'll kind of know what that looks like and kind of compare all the what it looks like between the 3 screens. So we'll get these reeled in. We'll move up there because I definitely want to fish in front of it. Caught some good fish out of that one too. I would much rather have white bass right now, but like I said, those have even been hard to find here lately. So we got some old shad. I don't much like using shad in this water temp, but it'll catch fish for sure. Okay, so this next spot, and I'm gonna show you it on the map here. You can kind of see where we're at. This is the tip of that island here. You know, of course, you got the main channel, and you got the other current that comes this way. And it's a big hole through here, but there is just a bunch of stuff. And like I said, once we get up there to it, I'll show you what it looks like. It's kind of a neat deal. I've caught, let's see, the times that I've hit it at the right time. I've caught some 20s and 30s out of there. Caught a couple 50s out of there. You know, caught some mid 20s flatheads out of there. Then I think I caught a 50 something flathead out of this little spot too. And then I know other people that fish out here. They also fish it as well, and and they've done pretty well on it as well. But we're going to move up and check it out. Scan along the way, see if I can see anything. Not a whole lot of stuff. Now that could be a bunch of gar up here too, but sometimes you fish around like them gar or Asian carp. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you'll find cats there too. That has been the case more than not. So we will be up there here shortly. Okay, so we're actually getting ready to come up on our first piece of structure here. So you can see it, there's the first piece. Okay, you can clearly see it on down scan. That's what it looks like on sonar. And of course we drove right over top of it, so it's hard to see on side scan, but this whole little spot here is just full of it. And it's what I was seeing jumping up here was definitely gar. I think there's some carp mixed in them, some buffaloes and stuff like that's mixed in them. But I'm gonna try to stop. So I got this waypoint that says root wad, and it's a hole. Then it's got a big brush pile on the back side of it. I like to set up right here just to fish that real quick. Then I'll go up above this. Let's see, you can already see that where we're coming across that stuff. That's what it looks like on sonar. That's what it looks like on down scan. Just a big gnarly little deal there. I mean, there's fish around it, but it's hard to say. Once we get up to this root wad, you'll really see it. Let me go ahead and, I want to get about 60 feet in front of that. And it's hang up city, I promise you that. Well, you hang one in this, it'll be kind of a, because you can see all that now on side scan. There's even more of it back this way. It's just a gnarly little spot. It still keeps going over to the left. But I want to get right up at the top of this. I'm actually a lot further back than I want to be, but that's fish off to the side there. The streaks like that, that's all fish, but it's hard to say if that's more. I would say it's probably gar, you know, just based off of what I'm seeing jumping around out here. So yeah, we're gonna give this spot about 30 minutes, and like I say, there's more junk right above it, and then we're gonna try that, and then we're gonna go hit this rock wall over here, this bluff wall, I guess you want to call it. Fish a little bit of that, and see kind of. We may potentially pull a fish off of that, you know, flathead hopefully, but we'll just kind of scan down it, and I'll show you kind of what I look for when it comes to that particular scenario. and then we'll give it a shot. But let me get some rods casted out and see if we can't do us any good here. All right, nothing going here either. But this spot here is it's kind of funny like that. But then again, oh, get out of there, get out of there. Okay, good. Then again, we have got, like I said, the spawn is in full swing. So fish are going to be few and far between doing it like this. But we are going to start working on that rock wall. I need to figure out where that trash line is, because we still got some trash floating down this river. But there is at the beginning of this bluff wall is a nice little spot, which I haven't fished it in a while. We're going to fish it today. Okay, so we're back out here. We're scanning down this rock wall here. You can see all the activity now that's down there. About that 38, well, about that 30-foot range, and it's a lot. I just got a feeling that's more of them 5 to 12 pounders kind of hanging out. There's some other stuff on the bottom, but I can't tell what it is. They're kind of hugging these rocks. I can see some fish up here on the rocks, so you can kind of see every now and then, possible that's a fish, but we got this little cut here that we're gonna scan past and look at it, because that's what I'm looking at right there. There's something a little bit different right there on this bank. And I'm seeing some fish dead on the bottom. Seeing some little stuff. Yeah, we may pull up here a little bit. We'll try it. Oh yeah, there's a big piece of structure right there. Heck yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So all I do when I see something like that, now that I've already got my screen over here, I drop a waypoint, clear the screen, you'll see where it's at. Yeah, that's a good tree. Let me get this trolling motor down so we can get fishing that. Okay, yeah, so that's gonna be a good little spot to try. We're just gonna let this thing drift back like I like to get, about 60 feet, 65 feet-ish. It's a good looking tree. Right here in this current, right here in this little, like I said, that's just a little cut off the river. You got the rock wall right over here, and then it starts back up, back that way. Oop, I went sitting there jaw jacking, I went too far. I gotta pull us back up. We're too close to that tree. There might be a big one hanging out in there. Like I said, I don't fish this bluff wall that often, but it's a good place to catch fish. It's a really good place to find some good fish for sure. You just got to find the little things that are along it. So I'm more so talking about flatheads, but there we go. But I'm more so talking about flatheads because it's they kind of like this stuff. You know, they got little nooks and crannies they can drop off into, and you know, kind of hang out, hide out, do what they do. So, but we're gonna get some baits out. The trash ain't terrible, so that's a good thing. So let me get some baits cut up and we'll get out there. All right, well, we just had one little fish bite. Well, he's actually been biting a couple times, but that was it. All right, I got one more spot on this bluff wall that I want to fish, and then we'll move to my next spot to fish, which is probably one of my favorite spots to fish, or I'll just say underwater structure I love to fish. I'll show you when we get to that spot, but there's one more spot that I want to hit that's on this bluff wall, but I haven't fished in a while. So let's go give it a shot. At least we got bit out here. Not that that means anything. Oh yeah. I love it when it does that. All right, so we're coming up on one of my favorite spots. I'll show you on the map what it is. So that's an underwater point right there. I like it, plus it's in between these two creek mouths here. This hasn't always been a good spot, but I have caught some fish off this spot, but we're gonna set up on it. Where I like to set up is kind of like where these start to kind of come tight together right here. So right off the channel, right about right there, but I'll set up kind of on the highest point and be able to fish this right here. So that's kind of the plan where I'm going to set up at. But those are always, like on this river here, and a couple other rivers that we fished. Those are just good spots. Them fish like to tuck up behind them. You know, this one's kind of different because we have 2 creek mouths that come out to it. So that's what I'm doing. I like them, and they're all up and down this river. And then there's days where, you know, you got to hit as many of them as you possibly can, because that's where the fish are. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be there today, but we're going to definitely check it for sure. So let me get up here and get this trolling motor set up, and then we will get the fish in it. All right, so we are set up. I've seen some activity, but the problem is it looks like a lot more of them smaller fish. Well, not a huge fan of that. We'll throw some baits out there anyway. Maybe a bigger one will come along or something. You got it, buddy? Yeah, he's got it. Only took you about 5 tries, huh? Little bitty thing. Oh, can't get away from these. Yeah, it only took you 5 tries, did it? But what is it keeping his head down like that? It is a channel catch. Oh, buddy. Man, you old ugly thing, you. It's old male. Yeah. Well, can you be done, buddy? Well, I really want to try to let you go. Yeah, this is an old male. I have to give it to you though. I mean, you ate it. So again, I don't know if that was the same one that was biting it, but he's the one that got hooked. See, they're up spawning. Ooh, buddy. Why is your belly so tight? Huh? Why is your belly so tight? You didn't come out of deep water. Yeah, you didn't come out of deep water, buddy. There we go. Oh yeah, see there, I got a bunch of slime on the deck because these dudes are for sure, well, they'll be in these, on these riprap banks spawning, and that's exactly what he's doing. Well, either way, I appreciate it. Well, all right, y'all, that's gonna do it for this video. I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish when it comes to this video. Going over some of the things, answer some questions for you guys, because I know I get asked a lot of questions, you know, what's an underwater point, what's this, what's that, and that's what I want to try to cover today. And we kind of got it covered. Like I said, it's just a crap time of year. Catfish are spawning. Rivers, you know, rivers getting right, so hopefully that'll all change. Usually later this month, the bite will pick back up, but you know, we're gonna have to just kind of work through it and get what we could get at the time. I definitely could have went back down, or found some of them big concentrated areas that have a lot of them 5 to 8 pounders or 5 to 12 pounders, depending on what they are. They're fun to catch, but you know, I want to catch bigger fish. So These are the spots where I would typically go to and catch. Let me rephrase that. On anchor, this is what I would do. If I'm dragging baits, I'm typically on the bottom of the ledges, you know, pulling boards down through the ledges, you know, trying to work that upper end and down to the bottom, and more so the channel when I'm dragging baits, and that seems to be the best way to do it. And then of course come across some random stuff on the bottom, like underwater islands and stuff like that. But like, so this particular underwater point that we're at, if I was dragging, I would make sure I'd have at least one board that would come up over it and over, you know, behind it. You get hung up quite a bit, you know, but you got to fish where the fish are. So that's kind of the deal with that. But yeah, all in all, like I said, really just want to come out here and just kind of knock out this video, because I get a lot of questions about it. So I hope it answers the questions. I'm pretty sure that I just probably created more questions, but that's fine. You guys know I don't care answering questions. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. But with all that being said, I appreciate you watching this one, and I'll catch you in the next one.